right. Hey, everybody. This is Roger. It's been a while since we have been on the podcast. I finally got 2 cameras back. So I have Anthony Agostino here in Oklahoma City. He is from Tulsa. He runs the RIA. He runs just another real estate company like I do. And we're just here to kind of talk, just talk, hang out, have a conversation. So without further ado, here you go, Anthony.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me.
What's going on, man? Glad that you're here.
Thank you. Yeah, no, this is an interesting twist. I decided improv to just drive down to Oklahoma City and let's do this.
Yeah, let's just because we can.
Yes.
Absolutely. Hey, pull that mic a little bit closer to you.
All right.
Either sit up or either way. So we were just talking. So, I'm meeting a friend of mine here later on because she's going to be on the podcast. But, we're talking about books and all that stuff. So tell me, you guys got a buddy of yours that does workshops and stuff like that up in Tulsa. Help you write books?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So like you mentioned, we run the local RIA, and what we try to do is, my goal on this is to bring information to people in the industry. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to be an investor in real estate, I guess this kind of needs a little bit of a backstory.
Yeah.
If you look at the RIA, in essence, what we're doing is we're training other investors, and from the outside, people would look at it and they'd say, "Why would you do this? Why would you train your competition?" So when you bring people and you bring information into the RIA, from an outside perspective, somebody might become a little leery because the first blush is, why are you spending so much of your effort and time training other investors? They are, in essence, your competition. Mm-hmm. And so what you have to understand is that we're playing a different game. I'm not here primarily to invest in real estate. It is a tool that I use to develop the goals that I have in life. And I have other goals in life. And they require that other people are successful in what they're doing. I need successful, thriving human beings in order to achieve the goal that I'm doing. So the way that I do it, because I can't do them all myself, is to invest my time and effort into developing people in who they are as people. Mm-hmm. And then their skills will develop from there. So it's to my best interest to achieve my life goals, to make sure that people they can really thrive in what they're doing.
Absolutely.
And so we brought in a gentleman that we think is one of the leaders in his industry. His name is Michael Butler. I don't advocate for or against somebody else. I just say, here's who I introduced, and the relationship that I don't get paid by any of this. This is not, this is nothing. But we brought him into the RIA, and we held a free class to show people what it's like to be in this world of, how do we publish a book? How do we go on a speaking tours? What's this process look like from the inside? And he's one of the leaders in the industry, or we would see him as the one. And he came in, and one of the things that he promoted was that he has a 5-day free course on his website to teach people, what is it like to write a book? What's it going to take to write a book? So that was, that's where you and I came in, because you're in the process of writing 2 books.
Yeah. So I've been doing real estate. So my why, right? So everybody should have a why as to why you're doing your 8 to 5. Mm-hmm. You're doing your industry, whether if it's in construction or if it's real estate or whatever it is, right? So you need to have a why behind it. So I'm writing one book. It's called Kingdom and Capitalism. Mm. And, I'm a believer in, God has blessed me beyond what I could ever have imagined. It's really funny. You talk to some successful people, it's like, did you ever see yourself here? No. Most of the time, it's not. But, man,
it is.
And there's other people that are not, believers that are very successful and very good at what they do. But I just know that the only way that I'm where I am is because of God's favor. Mm-hmm. And taking opportunity, and I have a wonderful wife that's really blessed, and my children, and I'm just blessed, man.
Yeah.
But the premise of it is, whenever people think of the Bible and they think about money, there's usually one of 2 things. Usually an entrepreneur has an answer, and usually your regular people have an answer. Mm. So what is your thought whenever you hear the Bible and money? What do you hear?
One time I was listening to a story, and somebody said that Albert Einstein had made a quote that said, one of the first questions that people have to answer for themselves, this primary question, is, do we live in a friendly universe or do we live in a hostile universe?
Okay.
And so for me, I came to the point after much wrangling and debating, because you look at the horrors of the world and you look at other things, that we live in a friendly universe. If I start with this basic concept of a friendly universe. And I remember I was listening to the radio one time, and somebody was talking about struggles in life. Mm-hmm. And though the basic of the gist of the conversation is lost to me over the years, I remember him saying that, when you look outside and you watch a sunrise, you have to believe that somebody's taking care of you. And so when I look at the friendly universe, I look at the fact that we can do forgiveness, that we can heal from wounds, that we can heal from other things, that we can thrive and then fail and then thrive again. Mm-hmm. So when I think about the Bible, or I think about any religious organization, I believe in the thread of it. It's there to help you thrive. I have to believe that there's a blessing, there's gifts, these are tools for us to use. It's a way for us to exchange with one another. Mm-hmm. That's my basic. Is that it's a gift for us to use and absolutely. To work. I was listening to a book called Thou Shalt Prosper, and it's written by a Jewish. Yes,
yeah, I know that book.
And I remember him saying that there's a Jewish prayer similar to, and I am not Jewish, and I don't claim to know this. That it says, basically, thank you God for our faults and our flaws, because it's in that gap that we find our service and our blessings to each other.
Mm-hmm. There's a book called 8 Minutes, and it's written by a Jewish rabbi. Mm-hmm. And I got a quote from that, and this is the reason why I always carry a book, or I have an audiobook or something like that. So whenever you're late, you're causing somebody else to sin in the Jewish faith. Ooh. So if you're late, you're causing somebody to sin. So this rabbi would carry a book so his time was never wasted.
So they would make up for if somebody was late to him.
So that way it kept that person from sinning.
Oh,
they were meeting with him if they were late. So it was just that book had so many golden nuggets in it, but that's the one that always comes to mind.
I like that.
Yeah.
So to get back on your track, that with the Bible and the kingdom and stuff like that, mm-hmm. I see it from an entrepreneurial, I see it from a blessing and a gift standpoint, because outside of blessings and gifts to each other, money's just pieces of paper that you can set on fire. Like, it doesn't matter. It is what you do with it. Yeah. You exchange it with each other and you add value.
Absolutely. So I probably actually should have been a little more specific on the question. So whenever you think about what is in the Bible, like a story mm-hmm. about money, what do you think of? Or a quote?
So the one, if I'm going to be honest, but I hesitate because I think somebody's going to take something away from it. No, because the only one that comes to mind is the, it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a wealthy man to walk.
Yep,
that's the one. Yep. And this comes in the context of somebody that's exposed to it but does not read it on a daily basis. And now that I sit and think about it, I see other stories that I would relate to abundance and money. Mm-hmm. But that's the one, if you were to ask me specifically, that comes to mind. And I'm hoping this leads to another conversation
so it's going to add to the conversation. So that's really interesting, because a lot of people, the money is the root of all evil.
Yes.
The eye of the needle. And you know what the eye of the needle is?
I believe that there was something else to it that people.
It's the entry into the city.
The city that would be closed at night, and it was
really, really low. Like camels are really tall.
Because the camel had to duck to get in, and it had to be intentional.
They'd have to crawl through. So totally almost impossible. That's the reason why that verse is that way. So that's the context of it.
Yes.
So a lot of entrepreneurs have, if they read the Bible or they're familiar with it, they come up with the answer of the story of the pence. So they gave, master went away, gave one servant 1 pence, gave another one 3, and he gave another one 5. So a pence is like 30 years of income.
Oh.
So it's not a small amount.
Yeah.
It's 30 years of income. So there's just so many things that go through that story. So a lot of entrepreneurs think about that because they think about using that as a tool to increase and make more.
Yes.
Versus the one that's scared.
Yes.
Or, money is the root of all evil. There's a lot of guilt around. And also a lot of entrepreneurs I've talked to, they have a guilt around their money.
Yes.
And so the purpose of the book is I'm interviewing people that I'm going to have their story inside the book about how they're utilizing their gifts, their talents, their abilities, their money, their finances, their energy mm-hmm. to make the world better. And it's not even on a religious direction. It's business with a purpose. Mm-hmm. So for me, I got these bracelets on. One's for Kenya, one's for Sierra Leone.
Oh, man.
And I support pastors, and I got a guy here. He's actually going to be at the meeting tonight. You're going to meet him, Gabriel.
Thank you.
But he got his U.S. citizenship a couple months ago, and he and his wife are moving back to Sierra Leone to minister, but not just to minister, but the main goal is to create industry.
Yeah. Because
they are broke, they are poor. We take for granted we can go to Walmart mm-hmm. and get food. Mm-hmm. They have to prepare months in advance through the harvest. They have to make sure that they have something for the future.
Yeah.
So we take that for granted. So he's going back, and we're talking about helping them with agriculture and how to do that. I actually sent a guy from Uganda that has an amazing story and sent him over to meet Gabriel last month. to see what they need and want to do.
One of the things that I spot right away, now for those that aren't listening, know that Roger, we don't have a very deep
we
history.
Just met in person.
Yeah, we just met in person for the first time. Is that you have what I would call a global perspective. Mm-hmm. Very simply, we sit in a very modest office here in the middle of Tulsa, Oklahoma, but you operate on a global scale. Mm-hmm. And it's truly impressive.
Thanks. Well, it's, we all get our call or our heart, right?
Yeah.
And, what's funny is the reason why I even started doing this whole thing is because I wanted to continue to minister to the people last year that I couldn't go back over there. Mm-hmm. I spent about a little over a month in Kenya in 19, 2 different times. And I missed it. And it's like, man, I want to keep investing in you guys and loving on you guys. So that's why I even started this. So it helps people locally. So we have our meeting outside the box that we do. And we do this podcast and YouTube channel, and it's serving people locally. Mm-hmm. But my vision is globally.
Mm-hmm. Right there, yeah.
Yeah. So.
And I think the vision ties back to the story you were saying earlier about money, that you see what you look for. For example, the opportunities to serve globally were always there. They're available to everybody. Mm-hmm. But you ask the question, what can I do on a global scale? Or what was the question that got you to operate on globally? Because I was going to say in entrepreneurship, literally in my mind, this stuff is about answering questions. So you could make a statement and you say money is the root of all evil. Or you can ask the question, what can I do to bless and gift and serve the world with the money that I have? Mm-hmm. And so the declaratory statement of money is the root of all evil leaves you with no options. That's it. You're just flat in the water. Mm-hmm. But when you ask a question, which I believe is how the brain operates, it responds and it gives you resources through questions. And you ask the question, what am I going to do today to build myself and serve others around me? Mm-hmm. And then that informs the answers that you come up with, which for you led to it wasn't just America, you have a global perspective. Yeah. Get it right. You're not saying it right.
You're not saying it right.
But you have a global perspective. And I think that also ties into real estate very beautifully because, like a friend of mine says, deals don't exist, they're made. And they're made in the answer of questions. Walking into an environment and asking a question. What's the highest and best use of this building? What's the highest and best use of this office? How can I leverage what I have to create more wealth, which you seem to have obviously done. But yeah, asking questions. Everybody can serve in some way. Yeah. I would not have even crossed my mind to somehow reach into Sierra Leone. I mean, we sat here talking, and you're leveraging somebody from where's your editor from?
Kenya.
And then you're wearing you used an interaction and you kept going, and it's just wow, way to.
Well, and we're all called, some people are called local, some people are called national, some people are called, international. And I have a cool story about a 7-hour F that made me find my purpose. And I'll share that with you sometime.
Yeah.
But that's how I discovered that I was meant to work in the international community. And it's funny because I always used to say, I'm not a preacher or a teacher, but give me something to build and I'll build it with my hands. And so I went around the world and built churches and, helped establish one of my favorite, I'll tell you this real quick. So one of my favorite ones that we did was down in Candelaria, Mexico. So down the Yucatan Peninsula, like you throw a rock and you hit Guatemala. Okay. So nobody speaks English. Mm-hmm. So my Spanish got really good. And we went down there and each one of us took a sewing machine. I think there's like 13 of us that went. And this is probably 12. I've been married for 15 years, so this is probably 16 years ago. And I loved it because we went down there. The way the pastor makes money was from a little trike, right? We had those in Oklahoma City and Tulsa, downtown, the bicycle ride. So those are around 20 years ago, people trying to make a living with them in third world areas in the world. Yep. So they're like little taxis. So anyways, they took us down there, the locals, so we send money ahead. It's with the Work and Witness program with the Nazarene Church. I'm not Nazarene, my mentor was, so that's how I got connected with them. And here's the parsonage, here's the church, and in between here, we built roof, electrical, put some flooring in, put some tables in, bop, drop, drop, drop. Had professional seamsters that were on the team. Showed them how to make things so that way they could create economy so that the church can make money to support the church and the people can make things to support their family. I was like, man, I'll tell you, I didn't even think about that till probably a year ago. about how much I really enjoyed and liked that one more specifically until I sat down and started thinking about it.
Wow. I love that.
Yeah, dude. It's it's about giving fishing poles, not fish.
Yes, sir. 100%. Which is what I'm interested in. I'm coming down here is to find out more about your groups, and that's kind of how we connected, is because I saw you running a group, and I was like connecting with, what are you doing? What are the best practices that you're doing? How are you serving people? What area are you serving in? Are there duplications? Can I send students over in your direction and learn the content, or whatever you're doing? But I really connect with people that are growing groups to serve other people, because that's part of that larger life mission I was talking about earlier. And in 60 seconds, I'll basically tell you.
Tell me what that is.
A couple of years ago, I've been in the personal development world where I go to a lot of different seminars, high profile individuals, and Tony Robbins and a couple others. I go when I
UPW is fun.
What's that?
UPW is fun.
Oh yeah, no, we traveled the world with his stuff, like going to his different programs.
That's cool.
Clemmer and Associates, Landmark, a few others, Journey, Discovery down in Dallas, a couple others. And one of the days, so these conversations are normal for my wife and I to have. And one day she said, "What do you want?" So I thought I was going to be a seminar junkie. I was going to be the seminar poster child. I was going to list all these things that I really wanted. So, it's the boat, the yacht, the house, the cars, the motorcycles, the airplanes. So I bring them back to her, and I was like, yeah, look at this impressive list. And she didn't even look up from her phone. She listened. You couldn't have been any more unimpressed. Like, she just didn't move. Don't talk about shooting your ego down. Just let your wife not respond to this child. Look at my beautiful list. And she's just sitting there. And she goes, no, what would you want if fear wasn't an option? What would you want if you weren't afraid? And I was like, well, okay. So I go back to the list and I think, all right, I want maybe a bigger house, no, what I want is to remove all the landmines from third world countries. And then I withdrew it. I was like, no, that's too big. I don't want that. And then I realized, wait a minute, because I felt something. I was like, no, I do want that, but I'm scared of it. Oh, wait, that's the question. Remember earlier I said the question informs the answer, not what I want. I always wanted this. I was too scared to ask for it. And it starts coming out from there. I want the education rates for children in schools to be up in the 90s and higher, because we have models that show it. If we take an average of the graduation rates of children in this country, it's a dismal number, but not everybody graduates at that number. There are places that are in their 90s. There are places down in their 50s. So somebody knows how to graduate kids. And I was like, I want the overall average to come up. I want all these kids in school to have food. I want the incarceration rates to go down. I want recidivism. Instead of laughing and just humiliating in this country that our recidivism is like 70, 80, whatever the number is. It's just destructive and unnecessary because it's not the model for the whole world. There are people that lower recidivism rate. So these are the things that I wanted. I want to save the whales. I wanted to save dogs and cats. I wanted to feed kids. Being an adopted child myself, there were services that I wanted to provide, things that I wanted to show that these kids don't need to suffer needlessly. I want personal development, real estate, financial education to be incorporated in our education. Part of our, if we're going to teach them about all these things, I need to teach them skill sets. And I kept withdrawing them, not because I didn't want them, but because I was scared. So I have this whole list of wanting to cure cancer, all these things. And I made this list and I bring it back, and now I'm just jazzed. I'm super excited. And I show her the list and I go back and I'm super excited. But then the reality starts to set in, or what I perceived as reality under the model of the world that I existed in at the time. And I start to get frustrated and I realize there's no way I am going to be able to do this. I can't do this. There's too much. So it went from fear to anger and frustration, and I started crumpling up the list and throwing it. I was like, this is stupid. Why did I do this? I just hurt myself. This is painful. I can't do this. Now I'm just disappointed and reminded of how limited I am. And then it came to me. And you call it however you want it to come. Blessed, insightful, a voice. And it's like, it doesn't have to look the way you think it has to look. I don't have to be the one pulling all the landmines out of the ground. I don't have to get on the Sea Shepherd and save the whales. I don't have to teach these kids. I don't have to go to every prison and teach people how to do things. How am I going to do it? And it goes back to that point, through other people. Thank you for our shortcomings and our failures, because it's in that gap that we learn to bless and gift and operate with one another. And I was realizing it goes through other people. And then I started to think, what can I do to get, like, I have to, I oftentimes teach, like, the first thing in real estate, let's get rid of the word landlord and let's get rid of this, self-made millionaire concept, because it's a misnomer, it's ridiculous, and it's limiting. And to realize the only way you're going to do anything is your connection and your invitations with other people, the value you add to their lives. And I had to get real. I had to overcome my own personal fears and self-limiting beliefs about how am I going to do this? And then I realized I can't teach people how to pull landmines. I can't teach people how to do these things. I can't teach people how to do whales. But what can I teach them to do? I can teach them, I can participate in their development as humans, because when they're fully active and they come to life and they're thriving human beings, they make incredible things happen that I can't do. Now, I've got a couple of degrees, and one of my minors is in economics, and there's theories that talk about on the margin and the fact that, this is how markets work, because you can do something 10 times better than I can do it. So it's better if you do that thing. So if you build shoes and I build clothes, right? It's better that you build the shoes instead of me wasting time trying to build my own shoes, because together we can build more than what we need, and then we can sell them to other people. Just like when you made these seamstresses, they've got, what's the commodity they had? They have time. They have time and they have a skill. You give them the one tool in the middle and they can generate the clothing that they can do to create and add value to somebody else, which participates. Like when we buy stuff from people like that, we're not just buying a shirt, we're buying into them. They're buying into the system that would support them as people. And so that's where this came from, is that what am I going to do? The venue that I have, what's the skill set that I have? I'm willing to speak in public. It's one of those terrors that people have. I'm willing to. I'm willing to look foolish. I'm willing to start ugly. I'm willing to make mistakes. And I'm passionate about, and I'm really, I would fancy myself as particularly good at getting skills out of people, making them see the best that's in themselves. And I thought, if I just give that away to start, it doesn't cost me anything. I'm going to do it for free. It fills me up. And that's where some of the classes that we held in the RIA was, that I'm not even going to focus on a building. I don't care about a building, because I don't want you to think that you can only come here if you're about a building, if you're about real estate. If you're about becoming the best version of yourself, I want you in the door. And I'm really not worried about the money. I'm really committed to getting you to be, and I'm sorry, I'm going to get carried away and just passionate about this, because
I love it.
I want you to be the best version, because if you're the best version, so let's just say a young lady came to me and she's like, I want to learn real estate. So one of my first questions is why? And just to cut it really close down to it, people say, and they'll tell you the story. They say, well, I want a passive income because I want this, because I want to rescue dogs. And I was like, oh, okay, so let's find out who you are. In her particular situation, turns out she was a liaison for a multinational corporation, and she helped the clients talk to the salespeople, talk to the manufacturing department. Multiple departments spread over to multiple time zones. She gets them to communicate. And I was like, you don't have to reinvent
logistics.
Yes, you don't have to reinvent the wheel to serve dogs. If the ultimate goal is to serve animals and to save animals, there's a spot for you in the industry as it stands. And I said, did you know that there are dogs in this country, there are animals in this country, that they actually get adopted at certain rates in different places? So different dogs are popular in different locations, and all of these different organizations are spread all over the country, and they don't talk to each other. If you can get them to talk to each other and create an algorithm which would optimize the adoption rates of animals, you could probably add more value to your life mission than if you started to build another building like everybody else, because you have a unique skill set that other people don't have, and they desperately need logistics, how to get resources and donors connected together. Because there may be a donor who has money and a farm who has extra meat that doesn't need the meat and can't sell it at the open market, but they'll sell it at a reduced price or cost. You just take these different resources. Deals don't exist, they're created. And you just get this creativity and you get passionate about what you're doing. That's what I want you to do. So in some way developing, and that's why I say we're in a different game. Everybody can come to the RIA. Everybody can get trained, because I'm here. I'm not training my competition. What you don't realize is you're playing a part in my larger life mission of thriving people, because we have to work together or we're going to sink the ship.
Absolutely.